So we all spend a lot of time on the exterior of our vehicle, but right now it's time to pop the hood. We're about to focus on cleaning the engine bay. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that we have all of the products out to get started. So right now we have our hose, we have a wash pad with some car shampoo on it here, all-purpose cleaner, a detail brush, and we have our Sidekick dryer. All right, now that we know we have our products and the hood is open, we're ready to get started right after we ask 3 questions. The first question we want to ask, is the engine cool to the touch? In this case, it absolutely is. This has been sitting for over 3 hours now, but you want to make sure that it's cool. Number 2, do you have an open air intake? If you do, you'll want to cover it before you get started. You don't want that to get wet. This one, again, no issues, so we're ready to get started. The third thing we need to check is if there's any exposed electrical equipment in this vehicle. This one is fine, but you'll want to double check. So we're ready to get started. The first step is we're going to go ahead and rinse this down. We're going to blast out as much as we can before we touch it with any chemicals. We just want to use a light rinse now that we have all of our products ready.
You're talking to Joe.
Now I'm going to grab our all-purpose cleaner and I'm going to spray this liberally across all of the surfaces here to make sure that we can attack all this dirt and grime. You know, let the product do some of the work for you. So all the main surfaces here. Don't forget this part. There we go. Now, I'm going to grab a wash pad here and make sure that we wash all of the large surfaces that we can with this. Now, you just saw that I sprayed this down with all-purpose cleaner. That's a degreaser. The wash pad that I'm using right now came out of a bucket that's filled with car shampoo, which is a mild soap. That's just going to help us agitate all of these surfaces here and clean off as much as we can with that. The degreaser from the all-purpose cleaner is going to help us cut back on a lot of this dirt and grime that we have in the engine bay. Now you might be asking yourself, how often should I do this? Well, typically I like to, about every oil change, go through and really clean this engine bay. You know, obviously, if you live in areas that you go through dirt or live on gravel roads, you might want to do it more frequently, but a typical rule of thumb is every single time you get your oil changed, it's time to pop the hood and get a good cleaning there too. Now typically this is a place that will be overlooked, but it's also a place that carries a lot of dirt. So you want to make sure you get all of these, you know, get your hinges here. Now this wash pad is very dirty. This is probably one that you'll want to dedicate to just wheels and engine bay from here on out, just so you know. I'm going to take it over to the grit guard, get as much of that contamination off as I can, but probably not one you want to use on paint in the future. So I'm just taking this grit guard and I'm taking my wash pad and rubbing it against the grit guard just to make sure that all the contamination falls to the bottom of the bucket and isn't agitated back up into the pad. Now, it's time to use the detail brush. The detail brush is great for all of the areas that I couldn't hit with the wash pad. You know, there's always a place that you can't reach. So you'll want to get all of the parts that are a little bit deeper in the engine, you know. Down here is really difficult to reach, so I'll get that. Over here by some of the wires. Of your hoses. All right, so now we've cleaned everything and we're ready to rinse this off. Now I'm going to grab our Sidekick Blaster and I'm going to blow off all of the standing water starting up here. So after using the car shampoo, the all-purpose cleaner, and the Blaster Sidekick, this thing's looking really good.